Hey, what is up, everybody? This is the Great Puckettini, and what I got for tonight, man, is I'm gonna break down the Hank Hendrix Reclassification. What has really happened here? And now I'm gonna give you a balanced breakdown for you Arkansas fans as to what has happened. And I feel I'm pretty. I can see all sides of it. I think there's probably three sides to this thing. I think is how it came out. Three scenarios. I mean, maybe two. I can't remember now. I need to look. But anyway, I've been working on it. I started working on it a couple nights ago when I first heard about it, about the reclassification, and so I started working on it then, and then I worked on it some more last night, and then tonight too. And so I'm ready to go with it because he now has tonight he just or it's been posting that he's reclassified and committed to Arkansas, so that he's done it or he's going to do it, and he's announced it. So anyway, I think I can see all sides of it. I've worn the shoes of every side of it. I've been the coach. I've been a parent. And really not my kids, but I was for some of my kids that are being recruited or trying to get them recruited and trying to find the best place for them. Not just football. I did it in softball too. And I was a head softball varsity coach for a while, and I sent several girls to college, to play college softball. So more so I did in football, to be honest. But anyway, on scholarships, we guys are gonna play. But anyway, so I feel I have a pretty unique view here. I've kind of been in these shoes, and I'm just going to give you a real balanced breakdown. I'm going to look at all sides of it and just try to. Now, some of this is not fact, Some of this is just me saying what could have happened, I'm not saying this did happen, whatever. It's just some of it is just me, just kind of playing devil's advocate and what could have happened. So let's get into it. Here we go. So I think, first off, let's look at his background. Who is Hank Hendrix? Because a lot of people don't know about him, He's kind of probably overshadowed a little bit by Kane Archer, maybe. But he's a quarterback at Fayetteville High School. He was originally going to be in the class of 2027. Now, he moved to Fayetteville when his dad was hired as a defensive analyst at the University of Arkansas. And I believe they moved probably last January, I believe, in 2024, I believe. So we've been there about a year. Chi Hendrix is his dad, and he coached at Bourne High School, which is down near San Antonio, for 7 seasons. He was really successful. And I think he's a defensive analyst, but I think he also has coached safety a little bit while he was there this past season. So he's a defensive analyst. Now, Hank is a 4-star in-state prospect committed to Arkansas. And like I said, he was going to be next year, but he's reclassified, and he's going to come in this year. And he's coached by former Arkansas quarterback Casey Dick from Allen, Texas. And a lot of y'all probably saw his tweet that he did. And, he was upset. He was really mad. And he's got to be careful with that. You can't be posting stuff like that. You got to think before you do all that. Now, Hank has reported plans to reclassify and enroll early at Arkansas tonight. I saw it when I just got on tonight a couple hours ago, that or not just a couple hours, just within an hour, I guess. That it's been on his X that he is reclassified and committed to Arkansas. So I'm guessing he's decided he's going to do it. So that's a little background on Hank Hendrix. I mean, I have a video breakdown of him. If you search for it on my YouTube channel, you'll find it. And I think I'll try to show you at the end of this video where it is and how to do that. So let's move on. So here's scenario number 1. Okay, let's say the Arkansas coaches led the reclassification. Okay, it could have happened. I'm not saying it did. It could have. Now, so let's say they come in, Silverfield Crams, and they identified a young, thin quarterback room. And I think Trickett is our quarterback coach. They come in. You got KJ Jackson's the only one that we have at that time. The other quarterbacks have left. They didn't leave right at that time. Grayson Wilson did. Trevor Jackson. And then so you're left with KJ. And so, they bring in A.J. Hill, and then it's just them two for a while. And then we get Braden Fuller. So I think they come in and they said, "Man, we got a thin quarterback room here. You like to have a quarterback in every class." And it was weird that they didn't sign a quarterback in this class. I thought, Kane Archer, we all know that. I have a video on that. He's now he was at UCF, then he decommitted. Now he's going to Utah, and so kind of weird they did not sign a quarterback in this class. They did have, they had the kid, I forgot his name now, but he was out in South Carolina. Javon, what was his name? Man, I can't remember now. But anyway, they had a guy, Petrino did, but he's decommitted now too. But anyway, they had a thin QB room. So, what are the coaches thinking? They're thinking if we can get Hank in early enrollment accelerates his development timeline, that it'll be good for him. He'll come in, practice at SEC level, and it will accelerate his development. Now, because he'll be getting strength training, nutrition, playbook access immediately. They're probably not expecting him to come in and beat out KJ Jackson, but they're thinking maybe a year or two down the road, and then he'll be ready to go. Now, also another way is that, if I'm a coach, I can watch another coach somebody and say, "Oh, I can teach him how to do that. I can do that better than them. He'll respond to me better." But I'm telling you right now, you never know until you have to work on it, until you have to get on their butt a time or two and not be the nice guy. When you're recruiting somebody, you're trying to be nice, kind of get them coming to you. But they're going to learn real quick if Hendrick is a quarterback of the future. It speeds up that process. Can he take coaching the way I coach him? If I have to really get on to him, will he just duck his head and just fall apart? Is he tough enough, So, the coaches probably think that they can learn that quick. If he's not the quarterback of the future after KJ, who I think KJ will win it, but you have AJ Hill. I'll talk about him in a minute. But, they're thinking Hank come in and compete with them. And they'll learn real quick if he's the guy that can do it or not. If they get him to, so they want him there as quick as they can get him, Now, they're probably having a hard time finding a fourth quarterback as well with KJ and AJ there. We did get Braden Fuller, but KJ to me is the favorite to win the QB1. AJ's going to push him, but then Braden Fuller looks to be a good quarterback too. And so what quarterback wants to come in and be the fourth guy behind them? Not much of a chance to play, So it's probably hard for him to get that fourth quarterback. You need a fourth quarterback just in camp for a camp arm, during summertime, and like you say, you want one in every class. And so Arkansas's down to quarterbacks. They're looking for one, and you got Hendrix that's already committed. Why is he waiting? If he can go ahead and graduate and reclassify, if he's taking all his classes, hey, why can't we get him right now? That's probably what the coaches were thinking. They may have been doing that. Now, also a thing, I think it could stop all the Kane Archer problems for him. I know they're getting a lot of heat for not signing Kane Archer. Kane, I would love to see both of them up there. I really would. But I think Hendrix is probably better, has a little bit better potential than Kane Archer does. But I would love to see both of them there. But getting Hank signed, it will kind of take a little bit of that pressure off of him as far as not getting Kane Archer. And also I think there was a possible communication breakdown with the Fayetteville staff with Casey Dick. Apparently there was a communication breakdown now, but and I put down here, should they have told Dick they were offering this reclassification to Hendrix? Now, I'm not saying they did offer it to him. I'm just saying if they decided that they were going to say, "Hey, Hank, man, why don't you come in right now in 2026? We need another quarterback. We think you come in and compete for that job." If they did that, should they have gone to Casey Dick and told him they were going to do it? Do they, is that something they should have done? I don't know. if they should have or not. If you go to Casey Dick and tell him, he may go to the Hendrixes and tell them, hey, don't do that. You don't need to reclassify. You need to stay here with me. And I'm just, that didn't. I don't know if it happened or not. I'm just saying it could have happened. That's a scenario. So, do the Arkansas coaches, should they have gone to him? I don't know. If I was them, maybe not. Because Casey Dick, he's not on my coaching staff. If I'm Ryan Silverfield, he's not necessarily looking out for me. He's looking out for himself, right? He's trying to win at Fayetteville. I'm trying to get a really good quarterback that I can coach right now and maybe help my team win. So everybody's looking out for themselves there. Let's don't lie about it. Everybody's trying to help themselves scratch their own back. But I don't know. Like I say, this is just, I'm not saying this happened. I'm just saying it could have happened. So that was scenario one. Arkansas coaches led that reclassification and maybe talked him into it, offered it to him without telling Casey Dick. I'm not saying it did happen, but could have. All right, let's go to scenario number two. The Hendrix family led the decision. Okay, maybe the family believed Hank was ready for college football. He's a really good player. I do know that. His father, Chi, has extensive coaching background. So he understands what's going on at Arkansas. Maybe he felt that Hank could play and be better than what they had at quarterback. And once again, I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying could have. And like I say, Chi is a defensive analyst at Arkansas, so he's there. He's in the building. And maybe the coaches went to him and said, man, we'd love to have Hank. He could come in and play right away. We sure would love to get him, and put a little pressure on him. I don't know. I'm just saying that could have happened. Now, the Hendrix family could think that an early move avoids unnecessary senior year wear and tear. For sure, he could get beat up, get injured, and then that really hurts his future. It's going to hurt his future for NIL money and all that. The decision also prioritizes long-term development over high school accolades. And this is where I'm kind of torn on it a little bit because, is it better for Hank to go lead this team and have that experience leading a team and doing all that? Is that better than coming in and practicing against an SEC defense every day? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's a correct answer to that or not. On one hand, I would like to see him lead his team to see if he can do it. But on the other hand, if I'm the Arkansas coaches, I want him to come be on my team where I'm working with him every day. If he's going to affect my future. I don't know the right answer to that. It's just one that the family has to come up and they have to decide that. Now, and then what if he was to get hurt his senior year? He's going to lose a lot of money. You get into that stuff where colleges, a lot of these college players that are really good, they'll take out insurance policies on themselves in case they get hurt, and they don't get as much money from the NBA or NFL, whatever. That's something we almost have to start looking at the high school level. If we're going to keep them in high school, not reclassify, you might would have to offer them something like that or tell them about that. Because I can understand that too. Hank's looking at making quite a bit of money. And what if he gets hurt? What if he breaks his leg? What if this happens? That happens, God forbid. And then he's out a lot of money. I mean, that's life-changing money, can be, So that's scenario two. The Hendrix family kind of led that decision, the dad and Hank or whoever, they wanted him to reclassify. Maybe they brought it up to Arkansas coaches, and then, should they have told Casey Dick? I don't think they really own any, I don't think they should have told him. They can tell who they want to. It's their decision, So that's scenario two. Maybe the Hendrix family led that decision. Now, so those are two scenarios. Now, Casey Dick's perspective, I can understand why he's upset. And so I can, being a former head coach, if this happened to me, that's kind of what I'm looking at here. So Casey's the head coach at Fayetteville since before Hendrix transferred in. Now, so he's losing his starting quarterback and his program centerpiece. Okay, you know this offseason he's been working on how they can maximize Hank's abilities and win a state title or finish a lot better than they did this year. You know he's been doing that. You know he has. Now, I'm sure he felt left out of the communication loop too. I doubt that the coaches or the Hendrixes, apparently they did not go tell Dick about it before it was announced, or somehow he found out about it later. Now, once again, that leaves me the question is, should the U of A coaches have told Dick first, Casey Dick first? I don't know. I don't think they should, What if they tell Casey Dick that, and then he goes off and he runs the Hendrix family and says, "Hey, you don't need to work with him anymore. They're not wanting what's best for him." So, and I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying could have. Okay, that could happen. So if I'm the Arkansas coaches, I don't go tell him. I'm talking to the kid and his parents. Casey Dick is not his parents. He's not his guardian. So. I don't think they have to go tell him, even though he probably got upset that they did not communicate it to him first. It's not his. That's not his decision to make. Now he reacted emotionally, but he later apologized publicly. So I do appreciate that of him. But the message here is to stay off social media, Casey. I see so many coaches do this. They get on there and they brag about all their wins and this and that. And they did this and that. But if they lose, it's crickets. Do not get on social media and rant about something if you're a coach, especially your players like this. That's not a good. Don't do that. Do not do it to social media. Go tell your assistant coaches. Go tell your wife, and then get it off your chest. Don't be posting that to social media. Don't do that. Okay. Now, I also can understand why he got mad. This decision affects his future for sure. So he loses a 4-star, probably the best player in Arkansas. And, so he's thinking he's going to have him and designing his whole offense around him probably. And then now he finds out he's not going to have him. So that's a big blow, Big blow. I can understand why he's upset and why he got mad. Because he's losing his bell cow. I mean, boy, that's tough to take, And so I can understand that. But, it's just going to happen, and it probably will start happening more of these high school coaches. Should the parents or the coaches tell the high school coach about it? I mean, I would be mad if I was a high school coach that happened, but really, the coach, he don't have to know anything. He's not a parent. He's not the spokesman for the family, so he don't have to know. But I can understand why he got mad. And I put on here, be like Coach Cal. I know Coach Cal, they always ask him, when he had those guys that were one and done. And he said, hey, if you come to Kentucky and you're, this one is at Kentucky, I remember him saying it, and you're going to be a number 1 draft pick. You're going to get drafted the first round. You're going to make all this money. I tell them to go. I tell them to go and go get that money because you could get hurt. Something can happen to you, Dale Brown talked about that with Shaquille O'Neal. I've heard him talk about it. He told Shaq to go to the NBA because they were fouling him all the time, scared he might get hurt. So I think Casey Dick needs to be more like Coach Cal. Hendrix, they decided that they want to reclassify. Arkansas is saying they'll do it. Hey, if that's what y'all want to do, go do it. I would much rather you stay at Fayetteville, but go get it, So, and that's kind of what Coach Calipari did. That's how you get those really good players. That's why they come play for him, is because they know he's not going to try to block them from going to the NBA. If he thinks they're ready, if they can get that first-round draft pick, high first-round pick, he'll tell them to go. He tells them, to leave and go get that money. And that's kind of what Casey Dick's going to have to start doing. All these high school coaches start doing, because I could see this happening a lot more. Okay, I sure could, All right, now, so why was Casey Dick, why was he upset? I kind of already explained it, but, Hank is the clear bell cow of that offense. And then, so it's a late stage roster and scheme disruption totally because their backup quarterback may be more of a runner than a passer. Well, you're going to have to change everything, that you've been working on and trying to design your offense around your quarterback. So I can understand why he was upset. And it's also perceived betrayal from his alma mater. I put that on there. Is it? I don't think it really is. He may feel that way, that they should have come told him that either the parents were talking about doing this or Hank was talking about doing it. But then why would the Arkansas coaches do that? Clearly they would like him to be on campus with them. So if they go tell Casey Dick, well, he's going to run to Hank and his dad and everybody and say, hey, he don't need to do that. He needs to stay with me, and he's going to try to stop it. Well, the Arkansas coaches probably want him over there. They want him with them, So it's a tough spot. I mean, I can understand him, Casey Dick, thinking that, but I can also understand Arkansas coaches. If I'm the quarterback coach, Silverfield's going to tell you, hey, we got to have 4 quarterbacks. You better find me the best 4 you can get. And then if you don't, I'm going to find somebody else that can get 4 quarterbacks in here, something like that. So, Casey Dick is not necessarily helping Arkansas. He's looking out for himself, for Fayetteville High School first and foremost. So, was it betrayal? I don't think so. Just weird circumstances. Now, high school coaches value transparency in recruiting. A lot of them, it's nice, and that way what do they think of your player? Do they really want them to? Do they expect them to come and start? What do they really think of them? And then you can help them. But if those coaches tell them exactly what they're thinking, that coach can lead them somewhere else. So those college coaches have to be careful as to what they say because they can move and change so easily now. It's just crazy times. Now, here are the positives of reclassifying. He'll get earlier SEC level coaching and development. That red shirt will still be available. If he comes in and it's going to be hard for him to play right away. But if he plays in less than 3 games, he can redshirt still, so that's still there. He has early NIL opportunities and revenue sharing, so it's a chance for Hank to make more money, and so it's very good news for him and his family. It gives him a head start in that Arkansas quarterback competition. I don't know if it'll help him this year, but maybe next year it will. But anyway, he's going to get their coaching, and he's going to be going up against SEC talent and practice every day. So, I would think it might give him a head start in that competition with players that aren't there yet. And he will be practicing versus SEC talent, which will speed up his development. So I think those are the positives of reclassifying. Definitely positives, and there's some negatives too. Now, let's look at some risks of reclassifying. So first off, physical maturity gap versus these college guys are a lot older. Now, he is playing quarterback, so he's not having to go be real physical with all these guys. He's not like going to be in the offensive line where he has to block guys that are 4 and 5, 6 years older than him. But there is going to be a physical maturity gap at first. The mental load of the college quarterback responsibilities as well is very hard. College is a lot different from high school. And so, he may not be ready for that. He has not led a team. He did lead a team this past year. Hank has, and, he may need more of that, may need more experience doing that before he comes to Arkansas. I don't know. Now, also a risk is that we have a very talented and kind of uncertain quarterback depth chart, And so if Hank comes in there and he's thinking he's going to compete for a starting job and he don't win it, and that could cause some bad feelings. Maybe he's just not ready for that, but he's going to go ahead and try to do it, and there could be bad feelings if he don't get to play as much as he thinks so. So that's a risk. Also, he's losing his senior year leadership experience. When he can go be in front of his team, try to lead them to state, and he's going to lose that. And like I was saying earlier, is it better for him to coach and is it better for him to play that high school, play for that senior year high school? It's his team, or is it better that he go to the Arkansas Razorbacks and practice against that SEC talent every day? It's hard to say. There's not a right or wrong answer on that. It's just whatever your opinion is. So there are definitely some risks of reclassifying. Now, the Arkansas quarterback room impact, so let's think about what we have quarterback-wise. So you have KJ Jackson, who most fans, including me, we really like him and think he's probably the favorite for a quarterback one spot. And you have A.J. Hill, who clearly is thought of highly by the incoming Memphis coaches because they recruited him and he was at Memphis for a year. So clearly they like him and think he's going to be a future quarterback, Now, so they also picked up an experienced and very successful Braden Fuller from Angelo State. I think he's a redshirt senior. So they got three really good quarterbacks here. So Hank's going to have a hard time coming in and playing for sure. So is it better to practice, I misspelled that, versus SEC talent every day, or be the leader of your team in high school? It really just comes down to the player. What do you think is better? And the parents, the dad who's a defensive analyst in college at Arkansas, it's kind of whatever they feel there. I could see it both ways, for sure. So it's just kind of whatever the family and the kid thinks on that. Now, NIL reality, okay? Now, just talking money here. I'm going to kind of speed it up a little bit. There's a lot of money in NIL right now, and Hendrix will start making good money. And then I say, what if he gets injured in high school this next year? He's going to lose a lot of money if he gets hurt bad and he can't, not do what he could do in the past. He's going to lose a lot of money. So I can understand that there too. The parents and Hank's thinking, man, I got to get in there and start making money right now because I only have so many years to make money. So I got to get all I can while I can. And so definitely, there is an NIL reality there where he can start making money right now because you never know what the future holds. It's kind of like Brandon Burlesworth. First round pick, wasn't he? And then he was going to be a probably starter, make all that money. And he dies in a car wreck coming back from practice. Never was able to get that money and all that, and everything that goes with it. And that's a tragedy. Boy, Brandon was such a great guy. And but things like that happen, and so you never know. He could get hurt in practice in high school and knock him out. I don't know. So that's definitely something that could happen. You got to think about if you're the family. Now, and here's my final balanced take. Like I say, I think multiple sides acted and what they believed was best. Okay, I think they all did. Now, they're all watching out for themselves for sure, right? I think the Arkansas coaches are looking out for themselves, trying to get another good quarterback in there, a fourth quarterback. I think Casey Dick was acting in his best interest by not wanting him to go. So I don't think there's any confirmed bad intent from any party. Communication does appear to be the core issue. And, do the Arkansas coaches, should they tell Casey Dick what they're doing? I don't think they should. I don't think they should be expected to do that because in case he could turn and lead Hank somewhere else maybe or try to stop him. So there definitely be a communication breakdown there. Hank's development over time will be the true verdict. We'll have to just see what happens. It's going to be hard to come in and play. I think KJ's a really good quarterback. Some of that was working with Bobby Petrino. I don't know how Cramsey is. It could be a different system. Maybe KJ don't play as well. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I think KJ will be fine. But we're just going to have to kind of wait and see how it plays out, if it was a good decision or not. And, what it finally just comes down to, it's not the Arkansas coaches. It's not, I mean, they have to offer it to him, but, or accept it, either way. It's not up to the coaches. It's not up to Casey Dick to make that decision. It finally comes down to the wishes of the parents and the athlete. They're the ones that have the final say. Whether you like it or not, that's their decision, and that's what it comes down to. So whether the Arkansas coaches kind of pushed for it, whether the Hendrixes pushed for it, however that happened, it just comes down to the parents and the athlete. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. I can see all sides of it. And I don't think there's any bad intent. I saw some headlines saying, Arkansas coaching staff show their true colors, and I don't agree with that. They're in a tough situation, That's never happened before. Getting high school kids to reclassify before this year, as far as I know. I mean, I've never heard of that before. I've heard of parents keeping kids like in 7th grade to hold them back a year so they're a little bit more mature when they get in high school. But, excuse me, she's getting late here. But I've never, we've never had it to where they reclassify as much. I've never seen it like this. But anyway, so it's new territory, But the deal is that he has reclassified. He is going to be at Arkansas. I guess, will he be there coming up on I think the 16th is when they say they start classes. Is Hank Hendrix going to be there on the 16th? I think he is. I don't know. But anyway, that's just my final balanced take. I think, communication definitely broke down, but I don't know if there was a good way to do it. Casey Dick's going to be mad. Like I say, he almost has to be like John Calipari. If he's good enough to do it, give him your well wishes, let him go do it, and go find your next guy. But that's easy to say when that's not happening to you, when you're not losing your bell cow player, quarterback, and it's a tough spot. So, but anyway, guys, that's about all I got. I probably rambled along too much here. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and then subscribe to the channel. And then also click that bell, that notification bell. That tells you when I post videos. Let me hop over here to my YouTube page. And I said I was going to show you how to find the Hank's video breakdown that I did. But yeah, click that bell so when I'm post videos, I get a lot of notifications. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, but and if it's something that I want to hear, I'll go watch it right away, or I'll save it and watch it later. But I hope you enjoyed it. Like I say, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and then click that bell. That way you know when I'm posting videos. I try to do one every day, and some days I do more than one. So I'd love to have you come back, leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. I love reading comments and talking to you guys. Y'all teach me a lot of stuff, probably more than I teach you. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I'd love to have you back. And let me show you just real quick. So if you want to find Hank Hendrix's video breakdown that I did, you just come in here and type Hendrix. And watch it not work. But yeah, there he is right there. And I changed the YouTube thumbnail there. Trying to make it a little more, sort of stick out a little bit more there. But that's a video breakdown of it where I actually watch film. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it here. But I actually break down film and show you what Arkansas is getting there. So that's about all I got, guys. I just want to thank you so much for watching. Thanks for spending time with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great evening or a great day whenever you watch this. And like I said, I just hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching and for hanging out with me for a little bit. And that's all I got. All right. Thanks so much. And as always, go Hogs.